Hello friends, welcome back to another session of Kubernetes. In this session we will learn about the pods. We will see what is pod and how to create the pod, how to delete the pod, how to describe the pod. So all those we will see in this session. Before to start with this one, let's revise what we done in our last session. In our last session we have installed Kubernetes and we have created a cluster of 3 nodes, where one is your manager node and 2 are worker node, and we have seen how we can do the installation on installation, and how we can create the cluster and how we can join the cluster. Then we have seen how we can see how many nodes are joined this cluster using kubectl.get nodes, kubectl get nodes. So it will get the list of the node who have joined the Kubernetes cluster. Get pods, how many pods are there across the cluster, it will get in default namespace, okay. And what is the how many namespaces are there in the Kubernetes? So default, whatever the namespace was there, how many were created, the 4 are default, so it is returning the list of namespaces available in the Kubernetes. Then we have seen a specific pods that are running in specific pods that are running on a kube system namespace. In kube system namespace, some pods like kube controller, kube proxy, wavenet, kube scheduler, etcd manager. So these are the 1.1 services inside a Kubernetes created as a 1.1 pod. So these pods are there, okay. So that was we done in our last session. So now we will explore more about the pods first. What is pod? Similarly, if you see in Docker, then what is the deployable unit? In Docker, container is the deployable unit, where that container you can deploy, you can increase the number of containers, like you can scale up, scale down, so you can do with the container. So minimum container is required, then only your application will be started. But in case of Kubernetes, pod is the smallest deployable unit. Similarly, the container can be wrapped inside a service in Docker. In Docker, we can wrap up the container inside service, and or else we can use Docker Compose. Then in the Docker Compose file, we will write the service configurations, or else we can use Docker Stack, Docker. So all those are nothing but wrapping up the container. So the minimum smallest deployable unit is your container in Docker. But in case of Kubernetes, pod is the smallest deployable unit, or you can say pod is the smallest deployment unit that can be created and managed in Kubernetes. We need to create the pod. We need to create the pod for the container to run the container. We need to create the pod to run the container. Or you can say we need to create the pod for container to run. Means inside pod what will be there? Inside pod containers will be there. Inside pod containers will be there. There can be one container, or there can be 2, 3 or more than one containers. It's up to it's up to our choice how many containers we want to define in the side pod. Suppose I want to create a pod where my application will run. So my application needs one database, okay, MySQL database or some MongoDB database, or else if you consider my application need two database, one MySQL, one MongoDB, and my application need RabbitMQ server also, or my application need Kafka server, or my application need Apache Lucian server, something like that. So in that case, that for one software I need one container. So like in one container I am running my MySQL, in one container I am running Kafka server, in one container I am running MongoDB database, in one server I am running RabbitMQ server. So similarly, these 5 services makes one entire application that is up and running. So that all containers I can define in a single pod. That makes sense. So this is nothing but the pod. So pod will contain nothing, containers only. Pod will have container, like it can have at least one container or more than one container. Okay. So a pod is a group of one or more containers, you can say like that, and with shared storage and network resources. Networks and resources will be shared, and a specification for how to run the container. So pod will have all these information. Okay, we have seen the pod, how many pods are there. Get nodes, sorry, this is to see the nodes. How we see the pod, get pods. So default namespace, inside the default namespace how many pods are there, it will get it. Okay, and if you want to see more information, like pod is running in which container, in which node, you want to get more detail, like what is the IP address of that that node, what is the IP address of that node, what is the name of that node. So how will you get all this detail? That detail, if you want to get, you can get using kubectl get pod o-white. Okay, if you want to create the pod, very simple statement to create the pod. But generally, as a developer or as a software engineer or a DevOps engineer, we are not following this approach. But anyway, this is the minimum, or you can say smallest statement that can be used to create the pod. What is this one? kubectl run. What you want to run? I want to run pod. What is the name of pod? You have to give the name of the pod, any name, like my pod 1, my pod 2, ABC, XYZ, any name. Then you have to give the image name, like in Docker we have created image, so that image name I have to give along with the path, repository name, something like that. And that image, from that image your Kubernetes will create and run the pod. What it will do, first it will pull the images, then it will create the image, it will create the container, then start the container, and then create the pod, and inside the pod it will add the containers. All those jobs will done by the Kubernetes. Or yeah, this is the statement, like you can do like that. Similarly, inspect was there in the Docker. In Docker, how we were inspecting Docker container, inspect, then container ID or name, whatever, then it will give you the more detail about the container. If you want to get the detail about the image, then Docker image inspect, then image ID or image name, it will inspect the image. Similarly, if you want to describe the pod, then in Kubernetes you cannot use inspect, you have to use kubectl describe pod. Like pod, you have to tell, you want to describe, but describe to whom? Pod, because in Kubernetes so many types of objects are there, like service, deployment, namespace, pod. So which one you want to describe? I want to describe a pod, then tell the pod name, so it will give the more detail about the pod. Then if you want to enter into the pod Entering into the pod is nothing but entering into the container. Container is running. Similarly, how we are entering into the container in Kubernetes, in Docker execc it, then name and bin bash. Before to this bin bash, two dot dot is required in kubectl, but in Docker these two equal symbols are not required. Two hyphen underscore hyphen is not required. Okay, or else use sh, or both are same. Okay, now in Kubernetes, if you want to enter into the pod, it will enter. But if your Kubernetes pod has more than one container, then you have to explicitly tell like that. You have to tell the name in which container you want to enter. In one pod there may be one or two or three containers. In one pod there might be one container. If it is one container, you no need to tell the name, directly it will enter into the container. But if it is a more than one container, in which container it will enter, you have to go with the specific name. I want to enter into the specific container, enter into that one. Okay, come out is control PQ or type exit will come. If you want to delete the pod, it's very simple. kubectl delete pod, then tell the name of the pod. If you want to see kubectl delete what pod, which pod, name of the pod you tell, that's it, it will delete. If you are facing any error, then you can use grace period 0 force, like that. Add this one. It means you want to delete forcefully, something happening, not deleting, delete forcefully, use like that. If you want to delete all, then simply you use all, it will delete all the pods. Okay. So this is the simplest way to create the pod, using kubectl run pod name image. But generally the developers or DevOps engineer will not use this type of approach to create the pod, because pod needs some other informations, port and all, and that you cannot specify in a single line. Even if you specify, it will not work like that, but it will be very complex. So best approach is you have to use YAML file, similarly how we are using in our compose, Docker compose. So in Docker compose we are using one YAML file, docker compose.yaml file. So here the file name we can give anything, but extension will be .yml to create the. So one container per pod model is most common Kubernetes use case. Like in Kubernetes, most common is one pod, one container. Inside one pod, one container. In case you think of a pod as a wrapper around a single container, Kubernetes manage pod rather than managing the container. But in Docker we are managing container directly. Okay, here we can manage pod. Inside manage pod, inside pod containers will be there. Okay, and this is the example. So we will see these examples and we will see what exactly the use of. First we will see till that. We'll create, delete, and we will enter into the pod and we will see it first. Okay, so what you need to do first you need to start your nodes. Currently it is stopped, you can see here it's stopped. And what I will recommend you should always use T2 large. Extra large you can take or T2 large you can take, rather than taking micro or small. If you see here, I am taking T2 medium, that is okay. Minimum requirement it is fulfilling. T2 medium, because 2 GB 2 core CPU, 2 GB, at least 2 or 4 GB RAM is there, so it is okay. So you take better you take T2 medium all nodes. But if you take worker node 1 and worker node 2 as a T2 micro, that is also fine, it will work, no issue. But for smoothly working I am just adding here. Okay, so first thing you need to start installation. We have done in the last session, you go and check like that, just that steps only you need to do as the installation. Okay, So I think it will be getting started. Meanwhile, just open that command prompt. So our command prompt is in AWS, and open here. Fine. So what is the command? ssh my pair ubuntu is the username, and this username is running at this computer. The IP address of this one is this is the IP address. Okay, copy that and come here. Yes, so clear it. Now first thing you have to see how many nodes are there. The first command, kubectl dot get nodes. How many nodes are there? Total 3 nodes are there. One is manager, 2 are worker, worker 1, worker node 1, worker node 2, worker, this is manager node, and the role is control plane. Here none, keep it as it is. And status of this node are ready. All nodes are ready because all three nodes are running. You can see here. Okay. Fine. And you don't need to connect to worker node 1 or worker node 2 because it is managed from here itself only. So manager is managing, you don't need to worry about that. Fine. So get nodes are there. Get pods, if you see get pods. Okay, so it is telling no resource found in the default namespace. So in the default namespace there is no pod. So what we will do, we'll go and create the pod. So get pods. Okay, get pod O wide, that is also fine. You can check that also. It will not give anything, like more details it will get. Okay, next I want to create a pod. So create a pod from kubectl run my pod, and this is the image. This is image is where, or else you can give is 1.0, that is also fine. Whatever the version you are giving in our Kubernetes, in our Docker, we have seen, we have created image my web app and we have placed that our image. So I'm just directly using that image. Press enter. So what it is telling, pod my pod created. Pod is created. Now you go and see. Yes, now you see pod is created, and status you see pod 1 by 1 means ready, means 1 is ready, divide by 1 means 1 is expecting and 1 is ready. So this is the how many ready, like in one I have already told you, one pod can have one or more container. So it is ready means how many containers are ready in this pod? 1 is ready, and how many are expected? 1 only expected. So that's why 1 divided by 1. 1 by 1 means 1 is expected, 1 is ready. Status is running. Restart. Currently restart, when restart will happen whenever container is failed or container is down due to some reason, so automatically it will restart. So that restart means 0. Currently no restart. Age, like from how long it is running. What is the IP address of the node? 10.30.0.1. and in which node this pod is created? This pod is created on worker node 1. There are 2 nodes, worker node 1, you see here, these 2 nodes are there, worker node 1 and worker node 2, both are ready. So this pod is created on worker node 1. That's it. Okay, next, if you want to describe the pod, you can describe the pod. Sometime it will do like that. Even I tried to find the solution, but I didn't find any solution like that. Sometimes you also may get this type of error, like connection was refused, did not specify right this is not specific problem here. Sometime it will work, sometime it will not. And sometimes you can just do the restart also, like this, just system restart kubectl. Okay, so it is describing the pod. What command we executed? Kubectl describe pod. Which pod? My pod. Describe this pod. So it is giving more details. You can see here, like what is the name? My pod, the name of the pod. What is the namespace? We have not specified namespace, so by default it is taking default namespace. Priority 0. Service account default. Node, in which node this pod is running? Worker node 1, and this is the IP address, private IP address of the node. Starting time, at this time, this time it is started. And label run my pod, this is the label. By default some labels are there, so it is giving run my pod. Annotations none. Status running, pod is running. IP address of the pod, IP address of the node or pod. Okay, this is the IP address. And container ID, container image, top tech hub, this one. Image ID, this is the image ID, docker io, something like that. Image is present. Okay, port, host port, we have not specified anything. Started, ready, true. Environment, mount type, something. Some more detail. Volumes, is there any volume it is using, something like that. And here if you see events, like what it is. First, normal, scheduled, and default scheduler. From default scheduler, scheduled. Then successfully assigned default my node to worker 1. Like who is scheduling default scheduler? Default scheduler job is to pick the node from the container, and it will assign. So successfully assigned the default my pod to worker node 1. So default scheduler, the scheduler job is to picking the node. It is picking and assigning, successfully done. Then what kubectl will do? Kubelet. Now the next job is kubelet. Kubelet will be running on the nodes. Every node kubelet is running. So what kubelet will do? Kubelet will manage the pods. So how it will manage? First it will contain container image already present on machine. See, if the image is already present on the machine, on the node machine, anywhere wherever the kubelet is running, if the image is already there, it will not pull. Similar to the Docker. If Docker has that image in local, Docker will not pull the image from the Docker hub. So this image again is trying to pulling from Docker hub, but image is there in the local, it is not pulling. Then it is created container my pod. From the image it is creating container with the name, creating the container my pod. Then starting container, that's it. So this is the job that it is doing. So like that you can describe. Okay, next. Describe override we have seen, like it will give the more details in which will it is running. We have seen this one. Describe. And if you want to see the logs, if you want to see the logs of the container, logs of the not container, logs of the pod. Logs of the pod is nothing but logs from the pod only. pod will have a container. Pod will have container. Suppose don't give the F stands for what? Follow. It will follow the log. Whenever the new log will be there, it will present here. So I am not using follow. Simply just kubectl logs and tell the pod name. Now you are not telling the container. You are not telling the container name. simply you are telling the pod name. Then how it is showing the log? Because if there is a one container in the pod, it will directly go and pick that one. If it is a more than one, then there is some different strategy. We will see that in next example. Currently in our pod, if I will show you here, if I show you here, so my pod will have one container, one by one, means one container is ready, and 9 minutes ago it started. Now this is the IP and worker node. So currently this pod will have only one container. So if it is a one container, then definitely it will get the logs from the one container. If it is a more than one, we will see that later. Currently you can get it. If you want to follow the logs, then you type f follow, means it will directly listening the logs. Whenever the new log is generated, it will show. That is nothing but the follow. Okay, fine. So like that you can see the logs also. If you want to delete the pod, you can go and delete the pod simply using this command. But before to deleting, I want to enter into the pod. How can I do? Simply I am just executing this command. Copy this and just enter. What happened? Some problem. Okay, let it be clear first. So the pod is my pod only. Pod name is correct only. Okay, say this problem. If you know the solution for this type of problem, please write me in the comment section. I will do that one, so that will not get this type of problem again and again. But anyway, this I tried so many times, but I didn't find any proper solution for that one. Okay, so now try to enter. So what we are doing, kubectl exec enter into the container in interactive mode into this pod. But in this pod, which container you want to enter, you are not telling. But currently there is only one container, so it will directly go and enter into the one container only. What happened? Still it is okay, still it is not working. Anyway, it should be working, but container not found. No, it should be there. Oh, okay, it is not running at present. If container is not running, see my pod 01 in this pod, the container is not ready. Anyway, you have seen restart 2 times, restart happened already. It means it is failed due to some reason. That's why it is restarted and again restart happened. So make sure your container should be up and running, then only you will be now it is, you can see it is running. Now if it is running, then try to enter into the container. Yes, you can enter into the container, and if you see here ls, so this, you know, this is a my web app var file is there. It is nothing but we are just simply adding a my web app dot var file, and that web app dot var file we are starting, and that web app dot var file creating my logs. Under my logs, if you go to my logs, under my logs, if you see my web app is there, my cd my web app, and if you see here there is a my web app dot log. If you see here, yes, this is the log file that is generated from this my web app dot var. So directly it is entering, and if you want to come out from it, type exit, it came out. And another option, if instead of bin bash you directly type here sh, again it is, I think it has to be restarted, that is the happening, I think. Let me see again. See, again it is error came, so it will restart, you don't need to worry about that one, it will be up and running anyway. If it is a failed, again it will try to restart due to some reason. Clear it, it will be ready. Once it will be ready, I will show you, or else you try. Anyway, this command is same, just instead of sh bin bash, you type sh, that's it, will be same. Okay, fine, leave it, I try after some time. So this is okay. Now the next thing, how will you delete the pods? Very simple, delete pod my pod, that's it. Copy that, and before that one, just try to okay. So now I want to delete this pod name is this one, so simply kubectl delete what pod, which pod, my pod. Okay. Reload the demon, then restart. Yeah, so it is deleting. It will take some time, might be it will be getting response fastly or sometime, but it will delete. Okay, so it is deleted. Now if the pod is deleted, if you get the pods, it will show you no resource found in the default namespace. Okay, so far what we have did, we have get the pod, we have get the more details about the pod like IP address and node name and all. We have created the pod from the image, and we have described the pod, we have seen the logs also, we have seen the logs of the pod, and we have deleted the pod, and we also have entered into the pod, and we have see the logs and files in that one. But by default currently there is one log only, so it is entering into the same container. Okay, next we have to create the pod from some YAML file. This is the YAML file. Okay, so this is nothing but the pod definition file. To create the pod, we will define the pods inside one YAML file like that. So simply just you copy, and we will observe one by one. Okay, so this is not the correct one. So what it should be, kind pod metadata, under metadata name and label, name and labels run, then specifications, under specifications what you need to tell, or else do it this one, keep this one, don't give this pod, that's it, same. Now if you see here API version will tell the version of the version of your pod file. Kind means what type of object, like in Kubernetes. In Kubernetes there are other types of object also there, like service, deployment, replica set, so many are there. So pod is a one type of object, so that's why kind is nothing but a type, kind of a pod only. Metadata, like name, you want to tell the name, labels, like that you can give here. This one, see, under metadata, names, under names, labels will be there, run my pod 1, like that you can give it here, labels, then labels will have run my pod 1, under labels. If you see here, under labels 1, run is there. Then spec is nothing but your specification, like restart policy, when your pod container should restart, it should be on failure, never, always. Always means whenever it is failed or some problem, something happened, it will do. On failure, whenever failure will happen, that time only. Never means if it is failed, it will not restart. That we will see later also. Here the containers will have a more than one container information, like what should be the name of container, what should be the image of the container, and what should be the port of the container. The port, this port mapping concept we will see later. Currently this our port application is not accessible to the internet, it's not exposing that directly. We have to use some service or some other object for that one. So in that, if we use that one, we can use that one. Currently we cannot access. Okay, so this is nothing but your port. That's it. Okay, API version and all this one. And if you want to get more, like what is API version, the version of pod object, that's it, simple. Currently, because it's not like that, it's a version of pod. Here kind pod I am telling, that's why it is a pod. If it is a kind replica set, kind deployment, in that case this API version will be of a deployment or version. That's it. Metadata, the metadata of the pod, like pod name, pod some label. Currently name and label I am giving same, but we will use something different also. And then spec, define the specification about the pod, like specification of the pod, information about the pod object running on a container. Restart policy, what is restart policy? Restart policy, object restart policy, that can be always, on failure, never. By default is always. If you don't give restart policy, by default is always. Now create the my pod YAML file as following. So this is the, okay, this file we have created, and we will push this file to where? We will push this file here to the your manager node. Okay, so that you can do very simple. Copy the IP address, and simply just you have to use this command. So now this file will be stored to your EC2 AWS EC2 machine. That's it. It's done. I think you need to reconnect this one. Okay, yes, so clear it. And now you see here, if you see ls, there is a one file, mypods.yaml. Simply you just see the content of this one. You can see using cat command, mypod YAML. So this is same YAML file that we have copied from our local machine to this EC2. Okay, now use this one, now use this one to create the pods. Currently there is no pod, currently there is no pod. Okay, some problem is there, that's why we are not able to resolve this one. Okay, so currently what it is telling, no resource. So there is no resource, it means you can create. So create with two commands, create, apply or create. Apply will be helpful when already created. Apply can be used, if the pod with the name that is specified in this YAML, with the pod name mypod2 is already there, then you can use apply directly, and if it is not there, you just go and create. Okay, yeah, what happened? Okay, some problem. Okay, it's creating problem. Okay, its connection is refused, so reload the daemon. This is the solution that I found so far. I will try some other also. If we found and we are able to, we will go with that approach. Even you also try. Why this type of problem is coming again and again? Okay, yes, before it gave this error, then again. Okay, now it is telling pod 2 created. Where is the pod is created? You see the pods details with the same command wo. So yeah, it is telling the pod is there now. Pod is created on worker node 2. This time it's created on worker node 2. It is speaking node, it is speaking on it is own choice. And now you see the pod we have created using what? We have created pod using YAML file, mypods.yaml file, using this file, using this mypods.yaml file. Inside this YAML file, if you see so if you see, we have a specification of the pod, like what should be the pod name? mypod2. Yes, name is mypod2, and which is the image? This is the image. Port is this one, this is, and restart policy is always, it is running. So it is telling it is creating the pod on the basis of YAML file. So, but currently if you see ready one by one, it means one container is expecting, one is running, but I want more than one. So what can I do? I can go and create I can just simply, if I do Control Z here, yes, now there will be two and you want to give the labels also, you can give it here, give the labels, no issue. Give the labels also. Labels mypod2, mypod 2. Okay, labels you want to give, you can give here. Okay, always restart policy always. And now there are 2 containers, you can see here. Containers, this is the name, one container, name, one container, name, another container. Okay, so now store this file again. Okay, now the file is stored here. Execute this command again and see the file content. Now the file content is updated, you can see here the file contents are updated, different. Even the labels, before the run label was mypod1, I changed it to that also, and I added one more container details. So this time it should be here ready 2 by 2 because 2 containers are expecting. So now what I will do, first I will see the pods, and I think I need to delete this pod, or else you can use apply. Use apply. Oh, this is again happened. If you use apply, it means already pods are created. Use this command. This time we will use this command, kubectl apply. It will apply on that only. It will create the one extra pod. Okay. So kubectl reload daemon. Now see the pods. Okay, so error. Oh, okay, error came. Oh, no, like that will not work. Okay, so okay, instead of like apply, what we can do, we will delete this one. Kubectl delete pod my pod 2. Okay, okay, so the pod is deleted. Okay, now it is telling no resource found in default namespace. So what we will do, we will create the pod. We'll create the pod from mypods.yaml file. Okay, pod is created, and if you describe, it is telling status is pending. You see here pod name is mypod2, and this time it is telling ready 0 divided by 2, because inside this pod how many containers are there? If you see our pod mypods.yaml file, 2 containers. First container name is my web app, second container name is my tomcat. 2 pods are there. Oh, sorry, 2 containers are there. Pod is one only. Pod name is mypod2. Pod name is mypod2. Inside this pod, 0 divided by 2 means 2 containers are there. 2 containers are there, and these 2 containers are not ready. Still it is in a pending state. If you try once now, so now you see here, previously the 2 containers status was pending. It means it is executed the commands, but that now kube scheduler has to pick the nodes, which node. So that's why node was not there, so that's why it is in a pending state. Now node is there, worker node 2 is picked. Your scheduler has picked, kube scheduler has picked the node from the cluster, worker node 2 has picked, and then it is creating the container. You see, now if you again see, oh okay, we'll see, it will come. That is some other problem that again it is getting. Okay, let me resolve it. Yes, So still it is creating, it will take some time, then it will be in running state. Okay. So let's wait. Right, so now you can see it is in running state. So my pod, this is my pod 2 state, ready, 2 are expected and 2 are ready. And restart, 2 time restart happened 35 seconds ago. Age 10 hours, like I started this one and then I came back and I started from the getting the pods, and from the same I'm started. So this is, and the IP address and worker node. Okay, so now what if I will try to enter into the pod? So let's see. I am just trying enter into the pod. So what it is telling? It is saying defaulted container my web app out of my web app and Tomcat, my Tomcat. These two containers are running in this pod. So you want to enter into which pod? You are not telling. So that's why it is a default. It is entering into the first one. Which first? How it is deciding which is first and which is second? This depends how you have declared in your YAML file. So in your YAML file, if you see, first container you have declared with the name my web app. So first it is picking my web app. This is the first. Second is my Tomcat. So if you are not specifying any container name, it will directly enter into the first pod that is declared inside the YAML file. Okay, it's okay. And if you see here ls, so you can see here my web app.var is there, my logs is there. This is the first container. Next, if you came out from this one, and now I want to enter into the container, then simply you have to give the name here, like my Tomcat. See, now it is entering into my Tomcat, and if you type here ls, then there is no my web app, and no my log, because this is just pure Tomcats. The Tomcat is installed in under etc, in some folder it is installed, so it is not there. If you want to see where is your Tomcat, how can you check and verify? So you have to see in your image or in image file, Docker file, how you have defined. Okay, we'll try to see. I think it is under etc. Yes, this is one. So when you came here, mm, 8.5.5, so you can see here OPT, yeah, this one. See, under OPT Apache Tomcat is there. So go to OPT. Oh, okay. So cd.opt, under OPT, if you see Apache Tomcat 8.5.55, it is there. This is the version we are giving. So this is available under OPT. So you can go and check like that. Yes, so is it is correct? Fine. So like that you can get, and you can enter into the pod. If it is a 10 container inside the pod, then you have to go with the name similar to this one. C stands for container. This is the pod name, my pod. Under this pod I want to enter into the container. Which container? C. Container name is my web app or Tomcat. It will enter into the corresponding. Okay, exit from here. Now if you give here my web app, it will enter into my web app. You can see here. and if you ls, see here ls, so it is there. Okay, similarly if you want to see the logs, if you want to see the logs, kubectl logs my and logs my pod 2, that is just pod name we are giving. We are not telling which container logs you want, we are not telling, just we are getting, we are telling to I want the pod from this I want the log from this pod, but I am not telling which container. So again it is going for a defaulted container my web app out of, this is clearly telling two containers are there with the name my web app and my tomcat. You are not specifying container name, that's why kubectl is picking default container. Default is which one? First one. First is your default one, that is you have defined in your YAML file. First is my web app. Okay, you can see the logs. Okay, next, if you specify the name like C container name my tomcat, in that case what will happen, it will get the log from the specific container that you have given. Okay, so like that it will work. Oh, where is that? So if it is more than one container inside pod you want to enter into, or you want to get the log, if you don't specify the name of the container, it will directly pick the first one. Like first, which one is first? The first that you have defined in your YAML file, that is the first one. Okay, yeah, fine. So okay, this one we have seen like pod YAML, this is with one container we have checked it. And yeah, if you want to create from YAML, just simply you have to give kubectl create f. F stands for file. Which file? You have to give your file, YAML file. Apply means pod is already created with this file, but that file is updated. You want to apply that updation, you can do that one, apply. Okay, that's it. If you want to see the log, then you have to give container name also. If your pod contains only one container, then Kubernetes will show you the log for the container. But if you have more than one container inside the pod, then we need to specify the name. But if you don't specify the name, what will happen? If you don't specify the name, what will happen? Your Kubernetes will pick the first container. Like which is first container? The first container is the first that is defined inside your YAML file. In our YAML file, this is a containers tag. You see, this is a containers tag. So in this containers, this is the name of the container. So first container is my web app, second container is tomcat. Okay, fine. So like that we can use we can create the pods. Fine. Okay, yeah, if you want to enter the same scenario with, if you want to enter, if you don't specify the name, it will enter into the first one. If it is a one only, then it will enter into that one. If it is more than one, it will enter into the first one, and if you specify the name, it will enter into that container. Okay, to create a YAML file from other image, yeah, this is like it will just show the YAML file, like some images is already there. You try this one, it's very straightforward and simple. So what it is, if some image is there in your Git Docker Hub, currently we have a 2 only and we have checked that one. Suppose you have another another image, or you pick any other image, so you want to create YAML file for that image. So Kubernetes will help you to generate YAML file. Simple, it will just simply generate how it should be. It should simply generate. Let's try. Wait. So kubectl run my run pod name like ABC. Simply just pod name. Image, you have to give image. Let's give this image only, or else if you can take any other, you take directly Tomcat. We will try this first. Anyway, we have created, but let's see. Yes, you see here it is generating YAML file. How your YAML file should look like this one. See, image is this one, name is ABC, resources, DNS policy, cluster first, restart policy, always, name ABC, run ABC, create a timestamp null. By default it is null, but if you want to give you, it will come, no issue. Okay. Or else if you try for Tomcat, this simple Tomcat is there. If I give here only Tomcat, will it work? Yes. In your yes, it is there. If you see open GitHub, open Docker Hub, we'll see so many other images are there. Currently in our repository we have only 2, but if you go and explore more, like Nginx, select this Nginx. Okay, so very simple. This Nginx is for some other type of application like JavaScript, for that one actually. Nginx, give ng instead of Tomcat, give another thing, Nginx. See, it is generating the YAML for that one. See, image is Nginx ABC cluster. Anyway, this Nginx is another server similar to Tomcat, but Tomcat is specifically for Java application. Tomcat will run Java application, but Nginx will run any other JavaScript applications, Angular application. I think therefore that one this server is used. Okay, so you can use like this. Fine. Now next are some of the states of the pod are there. Pod states, like pod can be in pending state, it can be in running state. Like when the pod will be in pending state, suppose when you have just now you have created the pod, at that time pod will be in pending state, because what is the next job? Next job is your kube scheduler has to pick the node from the cluster. That job queue scheduler has to do. So queue scheduler will run some algorithm, will run some process that it will find the best node among the cluster. So that job it will done. So meanwhile your pod will be in pending state. Running state, when it will be running state? Running state means when pod is created successfully, container is created successfully, and containers are assigned to that pod, and after that one pod containers are running, so it will be in running state. Successed means just now it is created but it's not running, just created. Failed, some error came. Unknown, like some unknown error, like the status is unknown. And one more we have seen, that is container creating. It is creating container, that is also there. Okay, so these are the status of the pod. Next, and pod status of the pod. Now the status of container. So three status are there for the container: waiting, running, terminated. Terminated means container is deleted. Running means container is running. Waiting, container is in paused state, it is waiting to restart. Okay, fine. Next, container restart policy. Container restart policy, like when container should be restart. always whenever failed or whenever something happen, on failure, only when the container is failed it should restart, never means it will never restart the container. And the default one is the default policy is always, and the restart policy applies to all the container in the pod. See, if you see our mypods.yaml file, so here restart policies we have given only single time, but containers are two. You see, two containers are there. Inside containers, container is another a tag that has a map. You can see container is a type of map. You see, if you start from beginning, API version, what is the type of API version? Simple string, kind, again simple string, metadata, again simple string. No, metadata is not a simple string. Metadata is another map type. Map means it will have key value pair. Okay, so key is your name, value is my pod. Okay, and then label. What is label? Label is a simple type. No, name is a simple type. Metadata is a type of map. Metadata is a type of map. Okay, under metadata name is there, so name is a type of what? It is a type of simple string. Label is a type of what? It's again type of map. Specification, map type. If you see here, restart policy, single type. Container, again you can say this is a map type, but generally we will call it as array type. How it is an array? Because these tags will be repeated. See, name, image, port, and some more tags that will be repeated, because under containers, there will be container specification, and container can be one or more, 1 2 3 4 n number of container you can specify. So definitely these tags has to be repeated, so that's why this is called array. Okay, and inside this name is again simple, image, port is again array. Okay, because why it is array, I am saying because it is starting with this one, it is starting with this hyphen symbol, that's why. Okay, fine. Image is a simple string, name is again array. Okay, fine. So like that we can define our file. Okay, so you see here what is the default restart policy. If you see here, restart policy is always, and this restart policy is not repeated, it is not coming inside the container. If it is coming inside the container, that is a different scenario, but currently Kubernetes has given like that only. They have given the restart policy for all the containers. Inside container specifically you can't decide like this container should be restart always, this container should be restart whenever it is failed, something like that. No, this restart policy will be applied for all the containers. That's why it is given before to the or that's why this is given outside the containers tag. Okay, fine. Okay, so in the next session we will see namespace similar to the pod. See, if you see here, this is a pod. Okay, this is pod specification, like kind is a pod. Similarly, if you give kind is a namespace, that specific tags will be there. So what I will suggest you just add the extension. Add the extension for what? Extension for YAML, YAML. One extension is there, YAML extension given from Red Hat. You add it, so that way that's what you will get the benefit. You will get the suggestion, and very fastly you can delete. So I will show you that one. Just install it first. This is from Red Hat, YAML, that is from Red Hat. yet another markup language. Okay, so it is done. It is done. Fine. Next, you have to install Kubernetes also. That is from Microsoft. Extension is from Microsoft. Kubernetes is the Google product. Kubernetes. Okay. See, develop, deploy, and debug Kubernetes application. So just simply trust and install. You can see this Microsoft. Okay. So it is installed. Okay. No, that is okay. So what I will suggest you, it is installed, so you better restart this one. Restart this once. Okay. Now it is telling Kubernetes not found in our local machine. We have not installed Kubernetes. Okay, leave it. So now simply just I am deleting, or just deleting this one, and I am typing here pod simply. Now I am not giving any other details here. See, just giving pod, and you pick from here this first one. See, it is generating pod automatically. Just you have to give the name, like you have to give your image name, your pod name, that's it, and your pod, that's it. It's generated. YAML file generated for you. Similarly, if I give here name, namespace, or namespace, pod is okay. Pod persistence value, see, this is another type of object like this one. Namespace will also be there. It should come. Okay, we'll see this one. It should come actually. Pod is working. Persistence volume, service, yeah, service is there, so it will generate the services. So like that you can use this one. We will see this one in our upcoming sessions, like how it will be generating automatically. You will see. Okay, currently I am giving the old one. And what is the suggestions? So it is telling you should have this one, at least I think one more. That's that it is suggesting. It is telling here clearly, container list contain belonging the pod containers cannot currently be added or removed. This must be at least one container in the pod, cannot be updated. Single application container want to run with the pod. Okay, something else it is suggesting. You can read this. Okay. Okay, so like that you can use this one. By it will help you to generate this YAML file. Fine. Okay, so this is fine. Okay, thank you, and we will see you in the next session where we will learn namespace. Okay, thank you and have a nice day.